Hello guys, and welcome to my new video, and today we'll be talking about Grievous affix and how to deal with it when approaching it as any healer or every healer. I have attempted to do like plus 15 keys with every single healing spec with different variations of the same healing spec in order to determine what tips and tricks I was using, maybe determining what healer was the best for Grievous, and that's gonna be coming at the end of the video. But generally speaking, I'm trying to answer, should you be running Holy or Discipline Priest? Should you be running Holy Paladin with Beacon of Virtue or Holy Paladin with Glimmer? And all of these are going to be applied to content like plus 15s. This is not looking at the highest keys in the world. This is looking at your KSM type of deal. Let's go have a look at this Grievous guide for every single healing spec, and at the end we'll see which healer I find the easiest to heal when it comes to this affix. So when it comes to Grievous, there's some general tips. First of all, you have to keep in mind that none of these suggestions are gonna be like, oh, groundbreakingly incredible that all of a sudden you're having an insanely hard time, you're gonna be like completely destroying this affix. It's not going to be like that. A lot of the times they're going to be min-maxing tips that are gonna help you, but at the end of the day, this affix just kind of sucks for healers. Like, if you read what it does, you have to remember that it is an affix that's, again, it's gonna apply when someone drops below 90% HP. So the end goal or the name of the game here is to never let anyone drop below 90%. So all of a sudden this means you have to be extremely defensive. As a Resto Druid, you have to be applying maybe HOTS all the time, or to some extent be overly cautious. Maybe if you're playing something like Discipline Priest, you might want to swap to something else, and we'll talk about that. But generally speaking, if a person drops below 90% HP, you're gonna get Grievous wounds. This is going to stack up to 4. Keep in mind that your non-periodic heals are also gonna remove an application of Grievous wounds, which is something new that happened in Shadowlands. So all of a sudden there is certain ways to min-max this. For example, chain heal bounces, drop off Grievous stacks, which is really nice to know. So maybe you're going to prioritize certain different spells. But the general idea here, Grievous general tips, you have to be extremely defensive. You have to maybe use your cooldowns earlier. You're not gonna wait until everyone's 10% HP before you're gonna pop your trank. You want to make sure to pop it before, because you don't want those Grievous wounds to stack up. So name of the game, super defensive. That's the only real way to play around this affix. Certain classes are gonna handle it a little bit better. Your non-periodic heals are going to remove certain stacks, and certain spells are going to be better when dealing with this. Tell your group to use health potions, that's also gonna help. And maybe grouping with certain tanks or DPS specs that can provide good off healing, like Prot Paladins, can also help with this. So this is the general consensus. So this is my Resto Shaman, and Resto Shaman I feel is actually a very solid Grievous healer with certain conduits that I'm going to talk about that are going to help you a lot. So this is the talent build that I run a lot of the times in terms of Grievous. You have to keep in mind you can swap things like Nature's Guardian to Graceful Spirit if you're going to be moving a lot, and you can absolutely go Ancestral Vigor. So all of a sudden Grievous previously used to scale off players' HP, now it scales from the keystone level. So technically getting Ancestral Vigor, which is going to increase players' health, is a really nice talent. So don't be afraid to use Ancestral Vigor. Grievous scaling has changed from expansion to expansion. The talent build, very similar, very easy, the same kind of thing. I would suggest people to go Cloudburst. If you don't know how to use Cloudburst, just use it when you're approaching a pack. It's a very, very solid way of going about it if you're not sure. If you know there's going to be Prideful, and we're going to be talking a lot about Prideful, because honestly, Prideful healing with Grievous is probably the hardest thing that you're going to have to approach as a healer. So knowing what to do when Prideful approaches is really good. A lot of the times holding your Cloudbursts or not using them because you know you're going to have Prideful approaching very soon can be quite good, because that means you're going to have 2 Cloudbursts available. They're going to last 15 seconds, so if Prideful is going to last more than 30 seconds, you're going to make use of this Cloudburst healing quite a bit. What other things are going to be extremely important when dealing with this? In terms of conduits, I'm definitely going to talk about this, and this is going to be very, very interesting. You don't have to follow what I'm going with. In terms of Necrolord, you don't have to have Necrolord in order to deal with Grievous, but you're probably going to have to use Heavy Rainfall. Heavy Rainfall is going to allow your Resto Shaman the amount of healing your healing rain is going to use. So using Healing Tide Totem increases the healing of your healing rain by a certain amount for 20 seconds. So all of a sudden, if you're approaching Prideful, you can just pop your Healing Tide Totem and make sure, you first of all have to make sure that you're going to have healing rain down. And for the next couple of seconds, you're going to have some really, really strong healing rain healing. The only downside, people need to stack in it. So mention to your group that, hey guys, I'm going to be using Healing Rain during Prideful. You need to stay in it because I'm using Heavy Rainfall. If that is not enough, and it might not be, especially in really high keys, I highly suggest people to try out and use Spirit Walker's Tidal Leg Guards. This is probably the only time that I would say it's really strong in Mythic Plus content. A lot of the times I would go with Primal Tide Core. The Riptide Legendary is very, very, very solid. But during this week, honestly, and for me personally, I would use it around 20-21 keys, but you don't have to. If you're struggling with Prideful Healing right now, put it on. So what that means is that during or after using Mana Tide Totem, the cast time of your Healing Wave or Chain Heal is reduced by 50%, and the mana cost of Chain Heal and Healing Wave reduced by 40%. So all of a sudden, you have so many different ways when dealing with Prideful with Grievous. You have your Cloudburst Totem. You have your Healing Rain that you can like increase by crazy amount with Healing Tide Totem. If that's not good enough, you can use Mana Tide Totem and just literally spam Chain Heal. You have to remember, the Chain Heal bounces remove Grievous stacks. And that makes Chain Heal extremely efficient when you're falling behind. So with the combination of your Heavy Rainfall Conduit, with the combination of this Legendary, I don't think you will ever have issues with Prideful and Grievous healing as Resto Shaman if you're playing correctly. These two things will make your Shaman a god tier Grievous Prideful healer. You don't have to run this, but if you're struggling with this, this will 100% help. And now we're gonna have a look at Priest. I'm gonna start off with Discipline Priest. Honestly, my best advice is that this Priest during Grievous weeks is please swap to Holy. And this is honestly the best advice you're gonna get. I'm not saying that you cannot do Grievous as a Discipline Priest. My personal opinion is that it becomes extremely annoying or hard when you're trying to approach these poke scenarios with this affix. Because, first of all, Discipline Priest HPS output, they have more than enough HPS output to deal with this type of affix. But the problem is, once you fall behind, once you realize that your Smite Atonement transfer is not good enough to keep up with the Grievous affix healing, probably during Prideful, and then you kind of have to go back into Shadowman spam. Shadowman spam is, first of all, extremely unfun in my honest opinion, and it kind of negates the whole reason to play this. And second of all, Shadowman is quite expensive, and you're gonna have mana issues. And when you combine, especially this week, which is Grievous with Spiteful, the fact is that once you kill a mob or a trash bag, everyone else is gonna go to the next trash bag, and then you realize you can't go and drink because you're in combat because of the Spiteful like way in the behind. And all of a sudden, you might not be able to drink. People are going to be chain pulling, and you're not going to have enough mana for something like Prideful. And this has happened to me in multiple runs that I did as a Discipline Priest, and honestly, it just did not feel good. So why play Discipline right now and go through all this trouble when you can honestly go and swap to, and I'm going to do it right now, Holy Priest, guys. And Holy Priest is actually one of the best, if not the best, Grievous healers. It is insanely strong. The fact that you can have a similar gear set for your Discipline and Holy, because the stat priority for Mythic Plus is very similar, with crit haste being very strong. The only thing you need to do is get this bad boy, Flash Concentration, and you're good to go. It is extremely, extremely strong. The amount of healing that you're going to be doing and what you're going to be experiencing, you're going to replace your Shadowman spam. First of all, you're going to be using your Flash Concentration and you need to get 5 stacks. You're going to cast Flash Heal 5 times. You're going to get this stack. You can see it here, you just need the Sweet Core or something. And your heal is going to be so efficient, so strong, and you can spam it quite a lot. The difference between this, like you can't compare this to Discipline Priest spamming Shadowman. It's just, there's no comparison. And if you're running talents like this, and you probably should be Surge of Light, might give you a chance of getting that free flash heal, and you can keep your 5 stacks going. On top of Trail of Light, which is going to give you cleave healing capabilities. On top of the fact that you have Mastery healing as well. On top of the fact that your Divine Hymn is now giving you a juicer stacks if you cast it for the full duration. Like you're gonna be looking at 20% healing increase. Get this legendary, run a similar build to this. You don't have to, but I find this build really good. The single target healing with Guardian Spirit is out of this world. If you're running a certain conduit build, I definitely recommend getting Resonant Words. This is almost mandatory in my opinion. The second conduit is all up to you. I was just running Holy Oration just for the fun of it. A lot of people will be running Lasting Spirit for that extra single target healing. It's all up to you. The only thing you really need is Resonant Words. You need the legendary Flash Concentration, and maybe running a certain build with like Surge of Light where you're gonna get free flash shields that are just going to extend your 5 stacks. And that's the name of the game. 5 stacks. Flash concentration has also been buffed to last 20 seconds. Believe me guys, this is the best advice I can give you, and you're not gonna regret swapping from Disc to Holy this week. So now let's go to Resto Druid, and honestly I had a really easy time with Grievous as Resto Druid, especially after the recent Rejuvenation, Wild Growth buffs, and I was running probably a suboptimal build. Because quite frankly I was going still with the Verdant Infusion. I thought Verdant Infusion, the single target healing, was insanely strong, and I feel like if you're running Verdant Infusion, again this legendary has been buffed to 9.05. If you're running Verdant Infusion, you have to run with Scenario Ward. Like you have the single target healing, the Scenario Ward extensions, it's just gonna be really strong. I was running this build and honestly I had no issues whatsoever because Resto Druid is one of the strongest prideful healers out there because you have triple cooldowns to deal with it. You have your Convoke the Spirits, probably running Night Wave, we'll have to see, but you have Convoke, you have Trank, and you have Flourish. Combine those and you get a incredible amount of prolonged HPS. So I feel like if you're struggling with prideful as Resto Druid, you're probably not timing your cooldowns properly, or you might not have those cooldowns. A lot of the times you probably can save Convokes. So generally speaking, I was running Verdant Infusion, I was running Scenario Ward. Do you have to run this? Absolutely not. I'm pretty sure there's quite a few other legendaries that might be pretty good substitute to this. If you need single target healing or HPS, Verdant Infusion is a solid choice. This is a prime week, in my opinion, to swap the Abundance. So if you're not running something like Verdant Infusion, you can absolutely go Abundance, and Abundance is going to be great because a lot of the times you're just going to be spamming Regrowth. Like I mentioned at the start of the video, you have to be defensive. You have to make sure you're applying your HOTS before the damage gets too big. Don't let it stack up. That's how you actually fall behind and have a really hard time. In terms of prideful healing, in terms of talents, I was running this. Again, it was Spiteful Week. Mass Entanglement is really good for Spiteful Week. So how do I deal with pridefuls? I've talked about the cooldown usage for it. You have multiple cooldowns. A lot of times you don't even need those. You have to make advantage of your extensions. If you're running Verdant Infusion, you're probably running Scenario Ward. You have to extend your Scenario Ward. And that person, that single person that has Scenario Ward on them, they probably don't need any healing. They're probably going to be fine during Prideful. Second deal, Soul of the Forest has been really good. A lot of the times I will try to extend my Scenario Ward. And while I do that, I make sure I use Swiftman. And then I have, again, Soul of the Forest buff. I will use Wild Growth, and then I'll use Wild Growth, the Empowered Wild Growth, I'll use it into Flourish. So all of a sudden, I'm getting a lot of burst healing here. So much burst healing that I can actually go into DPS forms and start doing DPS. You have to make sure you have your Fluorescence down. Spring Blossoms is going to stack up with Mastery. If you need more healing, and you probably will, you can use Tranquility. Tranquility is again going to applying a hot. It's going to work with Mastery. It can be extended if you want. You can chain it. A lot of the times I don't, because I feel like I can just use Flourish at the start and Trank at the end, because I don't feel like I need those big cooldowns at the start of Prideful. But because Grievous is so aggressive, you do want to use cooldowns even when people are close to top HP. Because you don't want the stacks to keep going and going. So you can chain it or you can stagger it. If you want to stagger it, you can also fit in Convoke. A lot of the times I didn't need to use Convoke. And by defensively, I mean using Convoke to heal. A lot of the times during Prideful weeks, I'm able to, or Grievous weeks with Prideful, I'm able to use my Flourish, I'm able to use my Tranquility, and then we can kill Prideful, and then I can use my Convoke to actually DPS. If you're struggling with that, use Convoke to heal. In terms of very quick conduit look, I am running Night Fae, and again, I am running Dreamweaver, but you absolutely do not have to. I'm running Dreamweaver purely because of Pot Tender. That's basically the main reason I'm running this, because I do feel that every 10 minutes cheat death has come and saved me a lot of times. If you want pure throughput, you can run Naya, and this Mastery Stacking Grow Invigoration Soulbind is going to be a pretty good option. But make sure, like 100%, you need to make sure you're gonna have Unstoppable Growth. Really important. This Conduit is really strong right now because Wild Growth has been buffed. You just have to keep in mind to keep your cooldowns available for Prideful and hot up, be very defensive. Never let Grievous stack up for multiple people. Now we go to the Mistweaver Monk, and honestly I had a really good time with Mistweaver Monk, even though my Mistweaver Monk is a little bit under geared compared to my other characters. I had no issues keeping up with Grievous, I had no issues keeping up with Prideful, as long as I had my Chi Red Crane ready to go, especially if you combine it, if you're Kieran, you don't have to be Kieran, but if you're Kieran, If you have Weapons of Order and if you have Chi, Red Crane, no prideful Grievous is gonna do anything to you as a Mistweaver. It is so strong. So the talent build that I was running on my Mistweaver Monk is probably very common that a lot of people are running. Rising Mist, Fist Sweeping was really strong. Keep in mind, Fist Sweeping with Spiteful can be annoying. I actually did keys with like 5 melee. And it was kind of annoying, but you can absolutely make it work. And this is the logs, the DPS logs, the healing logs that we had. I'm going to go through them as well. Red Crane is really strong. As long as you have this for Prideful, it's going to carry the dungeon. It really is. Mana Tea is going to save you a lot of mana. Keep in mind that with 9.05, mana consumption has been reduced for multiple spells, including the Renewing Mist and Vivify. So all of a sudden, the mana did feel a lot better. It did feel better. So I do feel the changes to it. In terms of legendaries, this is the big one actually. I was actually running Ancient Teachers of the Monastery even when they were 5 melee. And I was running Fist Sweeping. And look how much healing this legendary did. It was my top healing ability throughout the dungeon. So it's kind of incredible. If you can stay in melee, do your little fisticuffs, it's gonna be really, really strong in terms of what it provides. So I definitely recommend running this, but the big if, can you stay in melee? And especially during Spiteful, it can be annoying. If you cannot, I definitely advise you running the tier build, Tier of Mourning. This is going to be a lot more versatile in terms of you can't stay in melee. So it's quite simple. Can you stay in melee? No, Tier of Mourning. If you can absolutely go Ancient Teaching of the Monastery, and it's going to be extremely good in terms of your HPS. In such a way that basically just keeping your Renewing Mists and using your Essence Font and then just hitting the bosses or hitting ads usually is good enough to keep everyone top that Grievous doesn't even apply. So I actually consider Mistweaver to be extremely strong. In terms of using Chi, people need to remember that using your Blackout kicks and using your Rising Sun kicks is going to give you a stack. These stacks are going to reduce the casting speed or cast time of your Enveloping Mist and the mana cost. So at 3 stacks, which is the maximum, it's going to be instant cast and it's going to be extremely efficient. You do not have to wait until you get 3 stacks to cast your Enveloping Mist. You can use it 1 or 2 stacks depending on whether you need that healing instantly or if you have the mana available to you. So if you're doing Prideful and you're like, wow, I'm really stuck, I have a ton of mana but I need a bunch of healing because everyone's falling behind, get 1 or 2 stacks, throw out your Enveloping Mist so you get more of that Enveloping Breath healing straight away. Let's go to Holy Paladin, and Holy Paladin one is actually really interesting because there are multiple builds that you can use in the highest keys in the world or multiple different safe builds you can use on your KSM plus 15 keys, and I've tried out both of them. And I feel this build right now is probably the safest one that, at least from my experience. Having Beacon of Virtue, having Holy Avenger, which means you're going to have multiple cooldowns at your disposal with your wings, with your Holy Avenger, and with Beacon of Virtue for AoE healing. Felt really safe during Prideful healing, during Prideful Grievous healing, with the big downside of losing a lot of single target healing from having something like Glimmer of Light with Beacon, and you have to remember Glimmer of Light is going to transfer to Beacon target, so a lot of single target healing loss. But if you have a tank that can have decent self-sustain or relatively tanky, you're probably not going to feel it. So after testing, I feel this is a really nice build. Do you have to run this? Absolutely not. I have tried out Glimmer of Light and it felt really nice. I personally prefer Glimmer of Light playstyle because I like applying Holy Shocks on enemies. I like Glimmer applying on enemies and things like that. It feels really nice. The DPS is good. But I have to say, in terms of safety, this did feel sometimes when there was unexpected AoE damage and I don't have my wings because I already used them. I don't have my Holy Avenger because I already used them. And my Divine Toll is also on cooldown. I felt really naked, and a lot of the time spamming Flashlight or Holy Light can feel relatively bad because it does feel quite weak. But you have to keep in mind, Beacon of Virtue has saved my life quite a bit, and I do consider it to be a safe option. Do I consider it the most fun option? Not 100%, but I've had a very good success with this. I am running, like I mentioned, Kyrian. Kyrian is going to give you Divine Toll, which is incredible on Grievous weeks, on top of the fact that you're probably going to be running Shock Barrier because it is a HPS legendary. If you're running Ventier, if you're running Mad Paragon, you have to be very brave to be running that build because 4-minute cooldown for Ashen Hollow, you're missing out on Shock Barrier healing, which is very substantial. As you can see here, I was running a certain keys and my Shock Barrier was doing at least 10% of my healing. This is my Beacon of Virtue build. It was doing a lot of healing as well. And honestly, Ashen Hollow without Shock Barrier, you have to be really brave. In terms of soulbinds and conduits that I was running, honestly, I am running right now Clay, but you don't have to. With Clay, I am sacrificing a second Potency Conduit to get crit, which is relatively popular, but a lot of people are also running Pelagos, so you can do that absolutely in a good way, and it can really work. So it's up to you in terms of 2 Potency Conduits, single Potency Conduit, both of them are very, very popular options right now. With Holy Paladin, when it comes to something like Prideful Healing and things like that, you have to make sure that, hey, am I gonna have my wings available? Am I gonna have my Holy Avenger available? Do I have Divine Toll? Do I want to use Beacon of Virtue and combine Divine Toll? And things like that. So, Holy Paladin on these Grievous or healing intensive weeks, cooldown management is very, very important. This is why I pick Holy Avenger to have a second cooldown, and this is why I pick Beacon of Virtue for that prideful safety. As I mentioned before, you don't have to pick this, but it's just something that I found to be very safe in these 15 KSM type heals. A little trick that I picked up on from Beacon of Virtue, there is ways to kind of have more healing out of it before you even place it. So if I use, let's say this NPC here, if I cast Flash Heal or Holy Light, and right afterwards I'm spamming Beacon of Virtue, there's going to be Beacon of Virtue transfer right when it's being applied. And I don't know if it's to do with the travel time or how the spell queuing works, but I wasn't able to replicate it while using it on myself. So from the initial testing, again, you can correct me if I'm wrong with this, I've only tested this for the first time yesterday, and it seemed to be working, is that if I'm casting Holy Light or Flashlight on a different target than myself, and I cast Beacon of Virtue right afterwards, it works. So you'll see Beacon transfer being initiated even if it shouldn't be. So I'm casting Holy Light, I'm spamming Beacon of Virtue, and you can see it here. Holy Light healed this person, and then Beacon of Light also healed me, even though it was applied after the heal. So you can't kind of bug it out or cheese it, whatever you want to call it, but you're gonna get some extra Beacon of Virtue transfer, which you can then combine it or use it during Prideful, because you're gonna need that Prideful healing. And this is my summary of Holy Paladin. So now if we were to put a ranking to healers based on the Grievous performance, it's very important to say that this ranking is only based on like 15 keys. It's not based on the highest keys in the world, because in the highest keys in the world, Holy Paladin, Resto, Shaman are pretty popular. Does that mean Mistweaver or Holy Priest cannot compete? Absolutely not. So this is why I want to make a ranking for majority of people, or content where majority of people are at this given moment. So overall, I felt that healer Grievous performance was actually really solid. The balance was really good. I can put Holy Priest S tier, because I felt that Flash Concentration, the direct healing, the splash healing that it did, was really strong. Basically, during Grievous, you want to topple people as quickly as possible, and honestly, with Flash Concentration, I feel like there's no better healer than Holy Priest right now to really deal with that, especially considering that my Holy Priest is relatively undergeared when compared to other healers, and it was doing as good as anyone else. With Divine Hymn buff, cast that for the full duration, 20% increase healing after that, Prideful healing, easy peasy, lemon squeezy. In no particular order, I want to put a lot of healers in the S tier. So Holy Priest is going to be there. I honestly feel Mistweaver is going to be there. As long as you have your Red Crane, if you have your, again, I was using Weapons of Order. If you have those abilities, you don't even have to have both of them. But if you have both of them, the amount of raw throughput healing that you're going to do as a Mistweaver Monk is actually insane. And if you're running that Fist Weaving Legendary, if you're doing Fisty Weaving, your mana consumption is going to be lower, your HPS output is going to be really strong. Honestly, a really solid healer, on top of the fact that there's single target healing with your Soothing Mist, Enveloping Mist, Vivify combo is going to be really strong, and the mana reduction was definitely found. So really overall a solid healer. Again, in not a particular order. S tier, Resto Shaman is going to be S tier. Why am I putting Resto Shaman here? Because if you, especially running that Mana Tide Legendary, if you're having issues, Mana Tide Legendary is gonna make your chain heal cast faster and less mana cost. When you combine that with Heavy Rainfall Conduit, I don't see how Resto Shaman is gonna have any trouble with Prideful healing, as long as people are stacking that healing range. So if people are stacking, and that can be hard. Sometimes people don't know what this blue circle is. Same with Resto Druid, they are not standing in efflorescence. As long as they can do that, you're gonna have a really nice time as Resto Shaman. Make sure you're using your Cloudburst. Cloudburst can be insanely good, mana efficient as well, if you're using it properly. If you're not sure, just use it before the pack starts or when the pack starts, because if it's gonna die in 15 seconds, you're gonna make sure that people are gonna be topped up. After that, I'm probably gonna put Resto Druid. Again, no particular order, because I do feel Resto Druid could be top as well. The recent HPS changes to it have been really, really nice. And Resto Druid, in my opinion, is actually, and I'm gonna say this, probably the best prideful healer, especially during Grievous, during this time. If you time your cooldown, it just has probably the most cooldowns that you can really make use of. Like I talked about this before, Tranquility. Tranquility can be combined with Flourish. You can use Convoke the Spirit. You can use Swiftment with Soul the Forest to have an insanely strong wild growth. These kind of cooldowns, again, make sure to time them. You either chain them or stagger them, but you need to know which one you're gonna do, and you probably have to hold them as well. So honestly, these healers, I had no issues whatsoever with prideful, and I was running a lot of poke scenarios. Certain healers were a little bit over geared. A lot of the times I didn't have to use my cooldowns. Honestly, very, very solid, no issues whatsoever. But now we come down to certain healers that I had a bit more issues. I'm gonna put Paladin in A tier, and it's going to be a bit weird because Holy Paladin right now is S tier or the highest tier, whatever, when doing the highest keys in the world, and that's fine. Because a lot of times when you have a group that takes no unnecessary damage and you can really time your defensives, your personals, your health pots, you're gonna have no issues whatsoever. Or you will have issues, but if you're a really good player who knows when to use their cooldowns, you can make the best keys in the world. But if you're a Holy Paladin who's approaching and doing poke scenarios where you're not sure about how the pulls are going to be carried out, you're not sure, especially if you're Ventier and you're not sure when to use Ashen Hollow, if you're not using Shock Barrier, and if you're probably using Glimmer of Light, you're probably going to be somewhere here, at least in my opinion, because it requires, or it can't be dodged. If you're using Beacon of Virtue, I think you're climbing into S tier. I think you're getting a lot easier. So I am going to place it in A tier right now because it is cooldown dependent, it is group composition dependent, and it also depends on your talents. And a lot of other healers, honestly, you can brute force it. With Holy Paladin, you kind of have to know what you're doing. And this is why it's going to go A tier right now. And the worst healer, in my opinion, is going to be Discipline Priest. And I'm going to stand by this. I think Discipline Priest has a lot of issues with Grievous. I think once you do not or cannot keep up with Grievous healing, you have to go into Shadowman spam. Shadowman is too expensive. The gameplay is really boring, really annoying. And honestly, there's no reason to play Discipline Priest if you're spamming Shadowman. You might as well just go Holy and spam heal with Flash Concentration. And you're going to have a far better time. And the DPS, Discipline Priest or Holy Priest DPS is very good as long as you're able to use that Holy Fire. So this will be my ranking for Grievous when it comes to these plus 15s KSM type of dungeon runs where a group might not be organized, take unnecessary damage. I am fully aware that when it comes to the highest keys in the world during these affixes, the ranking is very different for websites like Subcreation, where they base it on 3,000, like a ton of runs. And they look at the completion rates. This is not my tier list. This is a tier list generated by a website based on the statistics. It literally has no bias whatsoever. It's based on what players are playing. And you can see it's very different. Because in an organized group, you're going to have a really good time. In my tier list based on KSM or 15 plus keys, I honestly feel every single healer is great, with Holy Paladin requiring a little bit more manageability when you're coming into these pug runs. And Discipline Priest, if you have an option, I will swap to Holy. You're gonna have a better time. Guys, let me know how you feel about all of this video. I know it was extremely long. There's a lot of breakpoints here. If you enjoyed the content, please do subscribe. It takes me a while to do this, and I'll see you in my next guide.